Hi everyone, this is Radul Live. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk about volleyball. Yes, club volleyball to be specific. So joining me is Richard S. Joseph, the founder of Trailblazers Volleyball Club, and the captain, James Mutero. How are you guys doing?
We're fine, glad to be here.
Fine, thanks for hosting us today.
Karibu sana. Let me start with you, Richard. First of all, tell us about Trailblazers Volleyball Club. When was it formed and how is it faring?
Wow, okay, let's start with how it was formed. We started in November last year, precisely. We had our first meeting with all the players and the member of staff on 13 November. And from there, what happened before is that we had some players that were let go. And we decided to build a team around them because we've seen the talents they had. And we said, okay, you know what? We're going to put everything into it and around these players and refine the talents that were being seen, that were not being seen, and showcase them. And to that extent, I must say, we've done pretty well, considering that now we just wrote history by being the first team that joins the league, and in their maiden season, we qualify for the playoffs.
So you're not even a year old?
Not yet.
First season in the main league.
Exactly.
And qualified for the playoffs.
Absolutely.
What's the secret to that?
You want the short version or the long version?
We have quite a bit of time. The medium version.
Okay. First is that what we need to remember is that a team is built around athletes. And for an athlete, I mean, I'm looking at this when you have 360 degrees, and our program is actually called 360 degrees. And you're looking at an athlete and the different dimensions that are required to help the athlete develop and perform to its utmost best. So you're looking at the strength and conditioning aspect, which involves fitness, but fitness for volleyball. It involves the physiotherapy. It also involves injury prevention, flexibility, and mobility. So for all of these, we have a coach, and there's a program around it that helps the athletes become better in terms of their fitness aspect. Then there's a mental health aspect, which involves the mental coaching, but as much there is the psychologists that come every week. So we have team sessions with the athletes, so they iron out issues, they understand each other, they develop that concept. So that's the second aspect. Then you have the technical aspect, where you work on their skills, help them to hone them and refine those skills. And you also have the nutritional aspect, where we supplement their meal intakes by providing proteins and other regulated supplements. And the last one being the technological aspect that we use to support all that and cement all that. So
this sounds so highly professional. It's not by luck that you are in the playoffs in your first season, but I'll come back to that. I want to bring in James. James, captain, I have to salute you. First of all, you tell me how you got into volleyball before you joined Trailblazers.
I got into volleyball in the year 2011, club volleyball, that is. I was, at that time, a third-year student at Kimathi University. So I took my attachment at Nyeri Steamer Company. Back then, Nyeri Steamer had just been promoted from the second division to the first division. And the coach was looking to inject a bit of fresh blood into the team. So that's how I got into the league.
You were fresh blood.
Yeah, I was fresh blood by then. By then I was very fresh blood. Yeah, 2011. So I played for one season. Unfortunately, the team folded because of lack of funds. Fortunately, I was spotted by the coach Forest Rangers. That is in 2013, and that's where I played my first playoffs. Luckily, we finished third. From Forest Rangers, I was employed at Equity, but back then Equity didn't have a team in the league. I left Equity after 1 year, joined Nairobi Water. We played in Nairobi Water for 2 seasons. Due to lack of funds, also the team folded. Returned back to Equity now as a player when they registered in the league. Captained Equity for 2 seasons. Changed my position to a libero. Played in Equity for 3 seasons. And then finally fate led me to Mr. Joseph here, who is our big
Which
boss.
fate?
No, it's
He
fate.
poached you.
No. That's another story.
What is the story?
The project that he phoned me actually, and we talked for around an hour. And the project that he told me he had in the mind, it was pretty ambitious, because at the end of the phone call I said, I think there's something wrong with his head, because that he was talking of things that weren't being practiced locally in the league. I think he has his sights on maybe club volleyball in countries like Italy, France, where it's highly professional. So the project seemed like a good idea then, and I can't regret having joined his bandwagon.
He's not all talk.
No, he's not all talk. He at least backed it up with a lot of actions. A lot of actions.
Okay, you tell me, since you said you didn't poach him, you must have been watching him.
Of course. Last year...
And several other players.
Absolutely. And that one will not lie. But the idea wasn't to put on a team. The idea was to help the players refine their skills. So from May to June last year, we run a program, again, out of pocket, for players, any players in any club in the league to come. And we had about 16 or 18 players in that program. And the coach, the technical coach at that time, was Geoffrey Omondi. And my entire, now, the support team for strength and conditioning, physiotherapy and everything, they were there as well. But we were availing that service to every player in the league that wanted to come and train with us on a 3-day basis at Nyayo. Then about 7 players were let go in October, right? By equity.
Yeah.
About 7 players or 8 were let go by equity in October last year. So I told them, listen, I'm not promising anything, but let me try to look into how we can put a club together, and then we build a powerhouse around you. And that's where it started, and that's what we did. And these players, we just tell them, no worries, you're not going to lose that season. About a week later, I called them all. I said, chillax, take a chill pill. We're gonna work together. Just give us time to adjust a few things here and there, securing the venue, start planning the kits, and it's a lot of things to put on a team. Registration, and a lot of things. The equipment you need to buy as well. It's quite a lot. And then we started. We had a lunch. Launching lunch. Lunch. So we did that on 13 November, and to cement it on 14 November, which was a Sunday, we had our first training session at Arboretum.
Wow. Yeah. What's your volleyball background?
Did
you play?
Yes, I did play. I started playing at 11 or 12. I don't know. So my coach at then, Mr. Defy, he looked at me on the court, clowning on the court. He says, "You on my court tomorrow." I looked at him. He says, "You don't show up, you have a problem." And it was a Catholic school. So you are summoned, you show up. You don't show up, you have more problems. So I decided to show up. That's where it started. And I didn't play for the national team because I was called on, but many times, and again, same problems as here. Either they didn't travel, and sometimes I was above the age bracket. So again, I couldn't travel with them. But then I played club. I started playing club at the age of 15. I played 3rd division. That's before 17, I was playing 1st division. So, yeah.
And by national team, you're talking about Haiti?
Yes.
What brought you to Kenya?
Work.
Okay. Work and now volleyball.
Well,
and now professionalizing volleyball.
That's the idea, because you have so much talent. We just need to find a way to develop this talent and then try to adopt things that are practiced around, because I don't believe the other people are crazy. The proof is we adopted these and we are getting results. Let's face the reality.
Because a lot of, not just volleyball, a lot of other teams here in Kenya were very juakali in how we do our things.
Oh,
I mean, you've mentioned technology, you've mentioned nutrition, you've mentioned so many things that teams take for granted. But I'm sure if I ask you what things were like, say, Stima, Equity, maybe not Equity, but some of these other clubs, were they focusing on such elements of the athlete? Because it's not just training.
I can attest they were nowhere near the levels.
Nowhere near.
Yeah. And it's not bragging, but it's the reality. Because in the technical bench of Trailblazers, led by Coach Omondi, assisted by Coach Richard and Coach Oselu. We have
You're also a coach?
Yes, I'm the
first assistant coach.
So you employed yourself?
Yeah.
It's not a bad exactly.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to
If
be.
you have the skill
You
and
need to
you're
have your hand in the door.
cutting
You know, you have to be making this thing. You know.
So I think we are the team with the widest variety. We have around 5, 6, 7 coaches.
That's on the lower side. What, 8?
About 8 coaches. Yeah. So you see, in that aspect, each coach is able to view the athlete in his own dimension. Kate looks at us from a point of view of injury prevention. Coach Jeff is a strength and conditioning coach. Coach Triza is a strength and mobility coach. Them, it's the technical part of. But you see, in other teams, the coach is the team doctor, he's the first coach, he's the assistant coach, so he's everything. And
if
it's
he's
so
lucky,
hard.
there's an assistant and a TM.
And that is and that is teams which are a bit well
established.
A bit well established. So I think we are doing things in a level that should be a measuring stick for the rest of the teams. Because if we want even the future of volleyball to be much brighter for the young players, you need to develop them and develop them well from when they are young. Not you start strength and conditioning a person who is 32, 33 years old. That is his playtime is too much gone.
So how big is your team at Trailblazers?
About 35 people, roughly.
We are a very large family.
Yeah.
So which one are the players and the technical bench?
The players are about 25 players. No, actually, we have 40 people, more or less. Huh? Jeez, now it comes to it. We have 25 players, more or less. And the rest is the technical bench or the support staff. Because we have the resident team doctor, the resident physiotherapist, the 2 psychologists, the mental coach, the TM, the assistant TM, and the 3 technical coaches. We have the mobility coach, 2 media guys. I mean, the strength and conditioning team itself, it is Jeff, Kevo, and then Triza that does the mobility and flexibility. So it's quite, and then we have Ian Gatia that does the nutrition and the review with also the physio, what to do to support the players' musculoskeletal functions and stuff. So it's quite a number of people that is involved in this project.
But that's what it takes to be professional. In fact, when you mentioned media, you were telling me that you also beam your own games.
Yes, we do. We even scaled it up. We even, increase the level of it by getting graphics, and we can open, because they are, for the live streaming, we have the scoring system that shows, we have the marquees that goes to put announcement, and quite a number of stuff. But yeah, and we also have of course, somebody that is the CEO, Samira Lowe. We have Njeri Wakaba, which is our legal advisor and operations officer, and Sally Sia, which does the marketing and PR.
And you're a company. It's
no,
not just
we are just a team.
That's the way this should be the basics for any professional team.
Yes.
But we are not doing it that way. It's probably why there's a ceiling on how far we can go in certain sports.
Correct.
How do you fund all this? Because it can't be cheap.
Well, that's a hefty, undertaking, I must say.
Yeah.
But so far, we don't have sponsors, so I do everything myself. In a nutshell.
Does he pay you well?
Yeah, as well.
But we have, funny enough, we have better package than a lot of teams.
We have the best package in the league.
Except for the people that employ their players, like the forces and stuff. So.
But then it means the way it sounds is that you just need to get more publicity, and you need to bring those results home, because once you do that, it should be quite easy to approach a corporate partner, investors. Is that your goal? It must be, because it must be expensive.
Ultimately, yeah, having a partner, I mean, we have been looking. We haven't gotten anything tangible yet or practical. But
everyone wants to hear the success story first.
Yes, I believe so. But in terms of the results are there. We played, how many games? 15 games. We only lost 3 of them. And the 3 we lost are the 3 people ahead of us, GSU, KPA, and Kenya Prisons.
With no walkovers,
no. Yeah, and then we won there. We got there without a single walkover. Whereas other team in the leagues, they all had 2, 3 walkovers. Even number 3 or 2 or 1 ahead of us, they had at least 1 or 2 walkovers. And we are there. And the people behind us, they all had walkovers. We didn't. So the proof is there that the results speaks for themselves.
It does. I mean, if you put in the work, the results will come. Do you have a program for girls? It's just a boys' team for men. Sorry. Men's team for now.
There is a plan for ladies, but of course, I mean, as you just mentioned, we are the one funding it by ourselves.
Yeah, you have to
so we
start
don't want to
somewhere.
start such an undertaking again on our own without necessary required support. So we want to focus first on that, make it a full success. Now decide on how we're gonna get support or collaboration with other partners to now expand to other sports and other genders.
Other sports as well?
Yes.
And Trailblazers?
Yes.
Wow. And the youth, do you have, I know you don't yet have a youth structure, but I'm sure that's in your plan.
It's more in practice already because we have a couple of guys that are just finished high school that have joined and joining rather. Also, there is two of them are already training with us. There are a few coming at the break after the playoffs. So we will wait for the season to completely end. And as we will resume on 1st September, so all of them will be there. Yeah. And again, we are the first volleyball team to have signed a professional kitting contract with a kitting supplier.
Okay. Who's the supplier?
Mafro.
Mafro Sport.
Yes.
You should be wearing Mafro.
No, but we are not. We are designing. It will not be bespoke, so we are the design phase right now. Yeah,
but that's fantastic. And foreign players? A little birdie told me you might have.
Yeah, well, we do. I mean, they were in the league. They last season, they were all playing for Equity Club. They were let go. So we say, okay, asante sana. Thank you very much.
You've handed us players on our lap.
Yeah, we didn't have to go and poach and fetch. They are just given thank you. I said, okay, thank you. So we have a Tanzanian, a Cameroonian, and a Rwandese. Yes.
And what's I mean, I don't know much about the quality of volleyball around the continent, but what does that bring into the league in terms of having players from other countries?
Oh, you should ask Samuel Gasharira because he even wrote an article about it in The Nation.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah.
He's 100% volleyball journalist.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So he wrote a full article on them and the stability they brought in the team and how they are challenging mostly a position called outside hitter in volleyball, which is my position, which I cherish dearly. And and these two, together with another one, we have Mutero, which is from Kenya, of course. And we are with him as a libero. We have by far the best receiving team in the league at the moment.
Yeah. But you don't say.
Well, I mean, let's say it. Let's face it.
Unless you take a break, when we come back, I want to know why when we mention volleyball, I think female. That question has to be answered. But let's take a short break. We'll be back in a moment.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Radul Live. Today we're talking about club volleyball, and I didn't realize I would be this inspired after this conversation with the team from Trailblazers. I'm here with Richard Joseph, the founder of Trailblazer Volleyball Club, and James Mutero, the captain. And we were talking during the break, and I was telling you that I'm actually inspired because you're taking care of things as simple as nutrition. And people underestimate the importance of that. When I speak to footballers, they're like, it's so hard to perform because we don't have money, so we eat ugali and sukuma wiki every day.
Sounds good.
Yet as an athlete, you need protein, you know. So those are just different elements to me that show how you're taking everything professionally. Yeah?
We have no option. It's if you want to perform, and if we have one of our objectives is to win the African Club Championship.
That's
So
your target.
You cannot go with athletes that are underfed, not
undersized.
Yes, undersized.
Yeah.
So because you see, and what we fail to also realize, even the players that have access to meat and everything, well, first thing we do, I mean, and I'm from even where I'm from, we are guilty of that. We overcook meat. So the nutrient and the protein you get out of it, it's like you eat more than you absorb nutrients. Same thing when we say we're gonna eat beans. Well, we need to complement it with rice, and because of some nutrients in the rice that complement the protein. But otherwise, you're eating something.
So your nutritionist also guides the players how to cook and how to what to eat in their own time and all this stuff.
We try to suggest at the moment, because obviously that one is too hefty. There's a cost element. We cannot control it, but we try to guide them. We release the menu that they could follow. But what we do, we supplement that. We give them protein shakes after every training sessions, or some other in the glutamine and anything to support their musculoskeletal functions. So we try that, and so far it's working pretty well. So. Well. Actually,
hey, those protein shakes are not cheap. Trust me. I know.
True. Yeah.
But I remember, like, our Kenya Rugby Sevens team. The year we did well under Mike Friday, there were two things they did consciously. They hired a strength and conditioning,
which we have,
professional, and they hired, I remember her name was Wanjiko Waria. You know her because she helped me lose weight one time. She's a nutritionist, and she's a sports nutritionist. Yes. So it was advising the team what to eat. Of course, as you say, you can't, you're not buying the food for him, so it's what he can afford in his pocket. But then you can guide them, that this is better than this is better than this. And then we saw Kenya Rugby Sevens reach their best ever position on the international circuit.
It's a science. It's not juju, it's a science. So right now, on top of Ian Gatia for next season, we're going to be partnering with Elon Nutrition. With her name is Noreen Kigoshi. So she's going to join us as well. So to increase that, because we believe that by then we will have enough support, or we will find the funding one way or the other, to really put a fully fledged nutrition program in place. So because by March or February next year, we will be hopefully going to African Club Championship. So that gives us from September, from the time we start until then, that is a 6 months period where we can really attend to these nutritional requirements. Yeah.
And get the players ready.
Yeah.
Why did I think of women when actually when Lillian inboxed me on Instagram and said volleyball, automatically I thought it was a women's team.
Yeah.
But the ladies team is in Brazil
right now.
Currently.
The Malkia Strikers.
Yeah,
I guess it's because Malkia Strikers appear, it's a fact. Let me say appear. Let me be politically correct. They appear to do better than the men's team. But I know that there is a reason for that.
Several.
Because they're African champions, they're usually first or second. I think Cameroon is the only country that gives us competition. They're regular attendees of the World Championships going again this year. So I guess that's what, and then Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Prisons, they seem KCB.
They do well on the continental front.
KCB has just adopted the national team, including the coach and technical bench. But but I understand the competition is harder for men. It's not that they're any less skilled.
Yes, exactly. You see, on the continental level, you said it very well. The ladies, you can count Cameroon, Kenya, and the rest. I mean, seriously, and the rest. When you come back to the men, you have to start with the Arabs, Egypt, and the Cameroonian, and the rest.
Yeah.
You see, and Kenya is nowhere near that. So, and at the moment, it's not that we cannot. As you'd said, even for the rugby, the time they performed better, or the best, was, in fact, one of our team ambassadors, Collins, was with them. Collins Injera is one of our team ambassadors. We also have Ferdinand. So, but that's the time they perform best. You just mentioned it. A professional strength and conditioning coach and nutrition. These are the two elements that they don't have now. And that's also two of the dimensions of our Athlete 360 program that we are implementing. And that clearly shows the difference between us and the rest. Now, in terms of men's volleyball on the continent, you have to go through Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Cameroon. You see, now you're looking at yourself.
Countries that invest heavily in volleyball, generally.
Exactly.
Which,
So
which,
now,
which we actually don't. No, we don't even for our women. It's
Yeah.
not like we now they're in camp in Brazil where they've been for about a month or so, but they've never had this type of pre-season
Yeah.
ahead of a world championship.
and in fact, in last year before they went to Rwanda for where Kenya finished second, we worked as the ancestors of Trailblazers with the Malkia strikers, trying to help them, preparing them physically. So we did the same team for 3 weeks with the KCB team that went and won the Continental Club Championship this year.
Yes.
So we are there in the back end trying to provide the development of the sport and to make sure that the philosophy we are preaching, it's applied, it's followed. Now I think after KCB had won and they surclassed their local opponents here, KPC, Kenya Pipeline 3-0 and Kenya Prisons 3-0. So I'm sure people start looking at what did they do wrong or what did they do well on that side of KCB. But these are the simple little things that KCB was clever enough to say, you know what, we need you and your team before we go, because they also did something very smart. They trained at the same facility where we trained, and it was easy for us to avail these resources.
But it just shows what happens when you put the attention and the professionalism behind
Exactly.
sport.
Yes.
Because that's what, when I saw KCB poaching, they poached Moim, they poached Bitok, they poached Lungao. You can't poach the whole national team and not succeed. And then I guess they listened to, because you don't know everything, so
Yes.
consult the professionals.
Yes.
Yeah. So how far are we, do you think, from winning? How far is Trailblazers from winning an African championship? 1, 2 seasons away?
Well, to be honest,
Well, from winning the Kenyan League, let's start with the Kenyan League.
from Kenya, now this year it's open, and I'm not bragging, and I'll tell you, in the document that we have been circulating around looking for sponsorship, we had put that our objective is to qualify for playoff by second season. Here we are.
First season.
Already, 7 months. So now, while we are at it, I'm sure all these guys are more scared of us than we are scared of them. So we have a very big chance at winning it, and we are getting ready for it. We are training, and we are getting prepared.
Do you have players in the national team?
At the moment,
Or it's
no.
been too soon?
Too soon.
Since
There
you were
haven't been
formed.
any call-ups so far since we started.
Do you, James, do you see yourself getting back into the national team? Well, it's not that
Yeah.
you were out, it's just that you never, you said you were called up before, then we never traveled.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Kenya and our problems. What happened in that instance? Where were you supposed to go?
To Egypt.
For which tournament?
I think it was the Cup of Nations, if I'm not wrong. But unfortunately, there was a lack of funds issue. So we had to break camp, go back to our clubs, and life continued.
I think I've personally harambed for Malkia strikers before the World Championships, the ones of Japan. It was just so embarrassing.
Yeah.
You can't go to crowdsource to send your national team for camp. So what is in store for the national team? Do you know what the program is?
No. Honestly,
Do we have any qualifiers coming up? Do we have any?
Honestly, I have no idea.
They're just silent.
Yeah.
There's no calendar. Okay,
Well,
I shouldn't be
first
asking
one.
you. I'm just wondering because usually we will know, like in football, okay, so there are AFCON qualifiers next year, then there's World Cup qualifiers, there's CHAN, there are these different tournaments.
There is a
But we're so mediocre.
No, there is a preliminary calendar in place. Now, the question you've asked is actually very, how do you call it?
Broad.
Not broad, very specific question, which is, what do we have in store? And to be honest, right now, I'm not aware, I'm being politically correct here, I'm not aware of any program. However, with several of the coaches, we are discussing to see how we can come up with something together to start training a provisional squad. Because one of the major problems we have is that when we go to a competition, we assemble a squad 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks prior to the competition. So we ended up not being able to convey a message or philosophy to the players because
They're all coming from different clubs.
with different
They've
techniques.
never played together.
So now 6 weeks or 3 weeks is not enough. And right now we all agree on that and trying to discuss how we can present a project like that to the federation and see its implementation. Because I personally told them, you will have our full support at no cost. However, we need to see a plan We need a plan so we can follow it and develop it accordingly. Otherwise,
is the federation listening? I think they're going into elections.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest problem.
You don't even know. You may be talking to someone who won't be there afterwards.
No, we're talking to the coaches. We decided that has to be an independent project presented.
Yeah, but who are the coaches? Bitok himself is going for a position.
No, the men's coaches. Bitok is the ladies. So right now, we don't want to focus more on the ladies. The attention is there, but we don't want to focus on it.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to develop that pool of talent and take it further than it has been. And that's why the coaches, certain of them, have personally reached out. We're already trying to see, but we want to finish the playoffs, then we can convene, and sit down and see how we can strategize, how we can write a project, and see its implementation.
And I hope they'll listen to you and how to manage the national team as well.
Hopefully.
Because it sounds so simple, because we manage companies here, but then for some reason, when it comes to a football team or a sports team, you don't want to apply the same professional standards, which you should.
Exactly.
I know one very big club in Kenya, I won't mention it, that has two people. It has a chairman and it has a secretary general stroke, treasurer stroke.
Everything.
Stroke everything. And you wonder why you can't get a sponsor. I'm like, get a damn marketing team, get professionals in different positions, because you don't run your companies like that.
Correct.
So why do you run your company?
And that's exactly the model we are putting out there. And right now on our social media pages, we started to release videos in parts.
Mm-hmm.
So we've released part 1 and 2 already, where we show our journey, where we started, how we started. So now our 1 and 2 are already on all the social media accounts we have. And today we will release part number 3. And this week on Thursday, part number 4 to complete it all.
Fantastic. What are your handles?
For Twitter is Trailblazer VO2. Trailblazers VO2.
VO2.
Yeah. And then for Instagram and Facebook is Trailblazers Volleyball Club.
Okay. Anyway,
Trailblazers VC, sorry. Trailblazers VC. We try to put it the same way as the website. Trailblazers VC.
So you don't get confused. Anyway, I'm sure you can share, or Lillian can share all the handles with me, so that I can also tag you when we're doing anything.
Thank you.
Then share information with us, because for some reason the men never share information.
We do share everything. If you go to our YouTube now, you'll see everything.
But you see, if I had not been inbox, I wouldn't even know that there's a Trailblazer that exists. Yes, and I'm on I'm on the volleyball WhatsApp group with Kina Samuel and all these guys and all the officials, and I'm not sure there are players there. I know there are a lot of coaches there. And they share information there, so that I can also share, and other journalists are also on the group. Just so we get the word out that, I was going to use a bad word, that things are happening, that things are progressing. And then see how we can also support what you do. And do you have a fan base yet, or you're collecting a fan base?
It's very interesting that you ask, because this guy, Regan Declan, that's how he calls himself on Facebook, I guess. Yes. Yeah. He decided on his own to create a fan base club for us. And we were shocked. We were like, okay, I was asking my guys, okay, did you create that? Did you create that? Did you? And then we said, okay, we found him, we called him, and we invited him to come on 1 or 2 of our training sessions. We also give him 1 or 2 kits of the team, so he can, of course, he's a top fan, and then we wrote it there. So yeah, we did that. Because he's the one managing it. They repost pretty much everything that we post.
But that's fantastic then. It shows that you're having an impact.
We're making a lot of
Because when you go to a corporate for partnership, they'll ask you, who are your fans? What's your social media presence? How many people come for your games? But I know that's something you're building.
No, we have that.
You keep all that data.
Yeah, we have it online. In fact, right now our reach, when we non-paid reach, is in the range of 1.4 million people that we have reached so far. And then when we put the paid ones, when we boost to something and then, so it's in the range of 2.6 million. So to put it together, it's about 4 million that we reach overall. And we hosted a league leg a few months ago in May on behalf of the federation. And one of the videos that we tried to boost as well, the game was watched by 99,000 people. Fantastic. And it had reached over 215,000 people. We have the numbers. The numbers are there. We can show them. Yeah.
You're the experts. You're the experts, and you're doing it right. So I mean, I wish you all the best. I wish you the best this season, next season, going forward, and you're finally giving me hope for men's volleyball. I've never discussed men's volleyball on any show doing sports journalism for I think 17 years. I've never discussed men's volleyball. Shame on me.
No, but it's good. It starts somewhere.
It starts somewhere. It starts somewhere, and I wish you guys the best. Thanks for coming on Radul
Thank you
Live,
for having
and
us.
you're on the right track. Huh? So keep it up, and thank you guys for watching Radul Live. Man, you learn something new every day. See you again next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.